1 minute till broadcast, and we are now streaming.
We are ready? All right. Happy Monday, everybody. Happy Monday. Welcome to City Council Chambers here and for our City Council meeting on Monday, November 21st, 2022, here at 7 p.m. in Durham, North Carolina, in our council chambers in City Hall. Welcome to you all who are joining us here, and welcome in person and those who have joined us via the internet. I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving coming up this week. Just a moment of gratitude. And as we enter into this space, I'd like to ask for a moment of silent meditation. Thank you so much. Now I call on Councilwoman Deidreana Freeman to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. If you would join us in standing and pledging to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, if you will call our roll.
Recording in progress.
Mayor O'Neill,
I am present.
Mayor Pro Tem Middleton,
I'm here. Madam Clerk, would you check and see if your microphone's on?
checking the lights on, it's not on. I think they have to do something in the control room. There we go. Let's start again. Mayor O'Neill,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tempore Middleton,
I'm here.
Councilmember Caballero,
Here.
Councilmember Freeman,
Present.
Councilmember Halsey-Hyman,
Present.
Councilmember Johnson,
Here.
Councilmember Williams.
Present.
Thank you.
All right, we have one ceremonial, well, two actually ceremonial items this evening. One, the first will be coming for a day of remembrance for road traffic victims proclamation that will be read by Councilwoman Halsey-Hyman. The second will come forth from our Mayor Pro Tem. I believe he's received an award for the city.
Good evening to my colleagues, to our residents in the community, in the audience today. I will be reading a proclamation. Whereas all Durham residents deserve to travel safely regardless of whether walking, biking, rolling, using transit or driving or riding in a car. And whereas during the past 5 years from 2018 through October 2022, 149 individuals lost their life in motor vehicle crashes in Durham, including 33 people walking and 1 person riding a bike. And whereas we remember all the people killed and seriously injured in Durham streets, roads, and acknowledge the crucial work of emergency services, and whereas the City Council adopted a Vision Zero resolution in September of 2017, affirming the city's commitment to eliminating all traffic deaths and serious injuries. And whereas the City of Durham continues to invest in the traffic safety measures and work with the North Carolina Department of Transportation for safer streets and road design. And whereas we call upon all Durham drivers to do their part by committing to safe driving practices, including not driving while distracted or intoxicated. And whereas the World Day of Remembrance for Road Traffic Victims, adopted by the UN General Assembly as the appropriate acknowledgement for victims of road traffic crashes and their families, is commemorated on this third Sunday of November each year. Now, therefore, whereas I, Elaine M. O'Neill, Mayor of the City of Durham, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim November 20th, 2022 as Day of Remembrance for Road Traffic Victims in Durham, and hereby urge all residents to take note of this observance. Witnessed by my hand and a corporate seal of the City of Durham, North Carolina, this 21st day of November 2022. And is anybody here to?
Yes, Ms. Allison Simpson is with us on the internet, I believe.
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi. Thank you so much for this proclamation of the Day of Remembrance of Road Traffic Victims. It truly means so much that the City of Durham is recognizing the importance of remembering road traffic victims like my husband, and recognizing the importance of raising awareness and taking action to ensure safe streets for all of us. In July, my loving husband, Matt, was killed on his bike at the crosswalk at Guess Road by a speeding car. The car hit him in front of me and my 2 young children while we were biking home from the Museum of Life and Science. The driver kept speeding on with the bike still attached under his vehicle. This has been an unimaginable loss for my family. 4 months later, our 2-year-old daughter still asks where Dada is, and our 4-year-old son is trying so hard to understand what happened. I am devoted to renewing my children's sense of safety and to keeping Matt's memory alive. And this is why this proclamation of the Day of Remembrance is so important. It helps us honor those we have loved and lost, and to feel supported by our community in the wake of such senseless tragedy. Matt was my best friend, and he was a devoted father to our children. He was caring, brilliant, humble, creative, conscientious, and silly. He enjoyed spending time with his family above all else. Matt was following all of the safety rules the day he was hit, and yet this horrific tragedy happened. Other traffic-related tragedies have happened to 21 others so far this year in Durham. We cannot let this continue. The Day of Remembrance also reminds us of the need to take action. We need to continue to work for better prevention measures, such as fulfilling the promise of the Vision Zero resolution for safer roads, and also ensuring the state is holding people accountable with appropriately serious legal responses to those culpable of road deaths and injuries. Again, thank you so much for your proclamation. It is so appreciated, especially by those of us who have been impacted, to have a day to remember the victims. And thank you for recognizing the need to take street safely so seriously. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Simpson. And I want to also say, my colleague, Councilman Cabrera, were at the Remembrance yesterday, where we actually lit candles and put them in the street for 22 minutes to represent the people who were killed. So I want to say to the community and the residents that this city council does not let this fall on deaf ears, and that we are in commitment to also advocate for a change. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Hyman, and thank you, Ms. Simpson, for a beautiful tribute for sounds like an amazing life. I'm going to ask, if she doesn't mind, and I know she won't, Deputy City Manager Bertha Johnson to come stand with me, if you won't mind, for a few moments. Madam Mayor, honorable colleagues, everyone in the chamber, and to those listening at home, I am very, very excited tonight because Durham continues to be on the award tour. We are a city on an award tour collecting accolades for leadership and ingenuity in many areas. Madam Mayor, a good contingent of us were just in Kansas City attending the City Summit of the National League of Cities. It's an gathering where elected leaders from all over the country get together and share best practices, share strategies, share stories with one another, and hopefully take home some ideas to help govern our nation's laboratories of democracy better. But what they also do is recognize leading cities. They recognize cities that are making inroads in terms of technology, public safety, public health, and other areas. And I am proud to report that Durham, once again, was a city that received distinction for our engagement by digital platforms as a government that seeks to yield better service and to engage with our citizens and residents using all kinds of digital platforms. The Digital Cities 2022 survey winner in the category of 250,000, this is population, 250,000 to 499,999, because yes, that one does make a difference. 250,000 to 499,999. In each category, 10 cities are awarded distinctions for their work in digital platforms and connecting with our citizens. Well, this year, I'm proud to announce that I got to go to a very nice reception and receive an award for Durham, who came in third place in our country in cities 250,000 to 499,999, and I know that we are going to take first place real soon in the next couple of years. And Director Johnson, I asked you to come up because I know our TS department is in your portfolio, but I see you've got another able person from the team with you as well. So I'm going to hand this over to you with congratulations. Congratulations, colleagues. Congratulations, Durham. Award tour. Durham. Horns up. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Frederick Raven, Chief Data Officer and Assistant Director for Technology Solutions. We'd like to thank, we being Technology Solutions, would like to thank City Council, our city managers, our DCMs, our staff, and all the departments that work with us when we actually submit this award. Because what actually happens is this is the totality of everything that the city is doing for multiple departments. This is not just the IT shop. This shows as a city how we've been able to move forward and progress when we're looking at how we utilize technologies. So we again just would like to thank you all for your support, and we will continue striving to reap the same rewards that we have received this year. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. We will now turn to our announcements by council, and I have several announcements, but I will go last, and I'll look to my right first, Councilwoman Freeman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to make sure I take a moment and appreciate Councilmember or Mayor Pro Tem Middleton for sharing that award, and then also thank the city and my colleagues for joining me in the National League of Cities event for the City Summit. I wanted to take a moment and just acknowledge and congratulate Dr. Monique Hosey Hyman for being selected or elected to the National Black Caucus local elected officials as the District 5 representative, regional director for the National League of Cities, National Black Caucus local elected officials, and thank her for serving for us as a body. Thank you, Dr. Hyman.
Thank you.
Any announcements?
Thank you. Good evening,
Councilwoman
everyone.
Cavalier.
I just wanted to extend gratitude to Bike Durham for hosting the event last night, which was extremely powerful, and to the Durham residents who attended. I also wanted to make a reminder, our flu cases are rising. I think I'm seeing some COVID rising as well. Please go get your COVID and flu shots. There are free places to get them if you go to the Durham Health Department. They are free. They don't ask any questions. I just went last week and got mine. And all of us are now in my family fully boosted and ready for winter, and so I'm urging all residents to do that. I also want to extend just our thoughts with the city of Raleigh after their tragedy over the weekend and their holiday parade, and also in Colorado for the shooting that happened there targeting our LGBTQ community. We feel that deeply in the city, and thinking and extending our thoughts and prayers there. Thank you.
Thank you. Turning to my left. Councilwoman Johnson, and followed by Councilwoman Hosey Hyman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wanted to observe another day of remembrance. Another day of remembrance that happened over the weekend. Yesterday, on November 20th, was the Transgender Day of Remembrance, which is an annual observance every November 20th that honors the memory of transgender people whose lives were lost in acts of anti-transgender violence. This event was started in 1999 by a transgender advocate, Gwendolyn Ann Smith, as a vigil to honor the memory of Rita Hester, a transgender woman who was killed in 1998. And the vigil commemorates transgender people lost to violence and has become an important tradition in the queer and trans community. Unfortunately, we saw an act of violence targeting queer and transgender people in Colorado Springs on the eve of Transgender Day of Remembrance, where 5 people were killed and another 17 people wounded by a mass shooter at an LGBTQ club in Colorado Springs. And it was just a really tragic, it's tragic regardless, but it was just really tragic timing that this horrible attack happened on the eve of this annual observance. Durham is a very queer-friendly city. It's a place where people feel comfortable being out, going to drag shows, going to queer bars and clubs, where same gender couples hold hands walking down the street, where we had our previous mayor pose with multiple drag queens at Latinx Pride, right? One of my favorite things. So I feel like these kinds of incidents really hit home for me also, just as a member of the LGBTQ community and as part of this city where we have always been open and not always, where we have long been an open and accepting place for queer and trans people to live and to thrive. And so I just wanted to recognize that observance and to mark the hate crime in Colorado and send my thoughts and love to the community members there who are hurting. There's a growing wave of anti-queer and anti-trans rhetoric, legislation, and now violence, and it's something that I think we all need to be concerned with and do whatever we can to stop the direction that we're heading in as a country. Thank you.
Thank you for that. My prayers go out to the victims, the students, University of Virginia, who lost talented young men who were more than just football players, and they lost their life to gun violence. These men were incredible young men with huge aspirations and extremely bright futures. My heart aches for the families, the classmates, and the friends, and the entire University of Virginia community, in addition to the young man who's the suspect who committed the crime. In some ways, I feel that our society failed him and maybe didn't give him the proper mental health services, mentorship, and he took his pain out in violence. I also want to say my prayers go out to the 11-year-old victim that was hit by the car during the Raleigh Christmas parade. She was a member of the CC and CO Dance Complex troupe. And again, I pray for not only her family, but the families of the young children who witnessed this. Again, they'll never going to remember, they're gonna remember this holiday season all the time with this being in the forefront. Also, there was a North Carolina woman, 25 years of age, that was found dead during a trip with her friends in Mexico that was actually beat to death, and it was filmed. I'd like us to just take a moment of silence for all of the young people in the last couple of weeks who've lost their lives from gun violence or act of violence and crime or an accident. Moment of silence. In addition, these things that have been happening in the media, sometimes in Durham, but lately these have been outside of Durham, really has championed my passion and advocacy that I will be advocating for some innovative strategies in mentorship for youth. I also would like to make an announcement that I have the honor to bring greetings on behalf of our mayor and city council at the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated Mid-Atlantic Meeting Cluster that was hosted by Alpha Zeta Omega chapter of Durham. This graduate chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority has been a pillar of service in the community of Durham since 1928. And I have a message that my sorority sister said to say to Council Member Williams. The next time that we come here for a cluster, they want a conference center. Okay? So the next time we're hosting it is in a couple of more years. So they told me to let you know that. I also would like to say, I would just like to wish the residents of Durham, the city employees, and my colleagues a safe and happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Mayor and colleagues, it's good to see you all again. And please tell my sorors that I hope we do have one. We spent the week in Kansas City, as stated earlier, just devising national policies on some of the major topics that we've been dealing with right here locally. And they had a massive convention center. It was about over 3,000 of us, and they made millions in that community, Kansas City did. On a heavier note, we've heard a lot of condolences shared this evening, and it is unfortunate, including the youngster that we lost right here in Durham last week, and unfortunately from a community that is just seeing it on a daily basis over in the McDougal Terrace community. This job is hard. And you've heard an example of what has happened just over the last week or so. And there are a lot of factors that play a part in causing these outcomes that we're seeing. And housing and safety and all of those things play a part. We just had the midterm elections, and as we all know, politics are extremely divisive in our country. So with these condolences shared and the fact that we actually have to sit on this dais and we have to hear those calls before they get into the media, we meet with families and have to answer the question of why and how we're going to fix it on a daily basis. I have to say, I think this is a time for us to truly reset and come together as a community. The 7 people sitting on this dais are not here to do it by ourselves. We're here to do it with our community members. And there are individuals that are affiliated with the city. There are individuals that are in the community that are intentionally stoking divisiveness. They oversimplify that housing is easy, safety is easy. We have lives that are on the line here. We have lives that are being impacted every single day. And to consider or even suggest that we do not care is offensive. So I hope that change. But I do invite the community to let's reset and come back together. Let's talk again. Let's communicate and have these conversations. Thank you.
Thank you to all of my colleagues tonight. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thanks to all my colleagues for their eloquent conveying of our collective grief and outrage and all of the issues that they brought up tonight. Very quickly, Madam Mayor, just a quick announcement and a request from my colleagues. I wanted to, before any media went out, to share that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Government of Israel has invited a delegation of African-American leaders to visit Israel between December 4th and 11th. I've been asked to be part of that delegation and will, as a guest of the government. This is not a city, taxpayer-funded trip. And I want to thank the Council General of Israel for facilitating that invitation. I'm certain that issues of municipal acceptance and municipal policy towards the state of Israel will come up on our trip and in discussions over there. And I plan, Madam Mayor and colleagues, to make it very clear that Durham embraces all people and calls for justice and liberty for all people, particularly BIPOC people around the world. And I look forward to making that clear over there. On a personal note, I also look forward to, as a person of faith, visiting some real estate that's pretty significant for my particular faith tradition. But in this time of year, I also realize that there's a convergence in that country of real estate that's important to three great faith traditions. And in this season of light and hope and expectancy and renewal, where so many people are thinking of light and hope and joy, I hope to be reminded, and many of us will be reminded, of our need to carve out shared space to live together and to work together. With that said, colleagues, I'm going to ask for an excused absences for our regular council meeting on Monday, December 5th, and our work session on Thursday, December 8th, that I might attend that trip with this delegation from the United States to Israel. Happy Thanksgiving and blessed holiday season to everyone. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you. Thank you all. And we will come back to your motion in just a bit. I too think I may be traveling on December 5th, so I will need one, as well as I'll be traveling to Selma. Did I do that one already? We did? Okay. All right. So that means your mayor and Mayor Pro Tem will be out. So we will be looking to the next two senior leaders to carry that meeting. Right. Right. All right. All right. Well, you know, it gets kind of heavy with this job and all of our jobs, especially around the holiday season. Things can happen in our personal lives and in our professional lives. It causes us to, you know, not only look forward to celebrating the holidays, but it can actually make you a little sad. I reached out to my sister mayor in Raleigh on Saturday, and as you can imagine, she was not doing well at that particular time. So I just want to let the Raleigh community know, elected, unelected, all of us, that we're in it together and that we stand with them and we stand ready to support in any way that we can during this time, in particular to my sister, Mayor Marianne Baldwin. We continue to hold you up and your community up as well. I also want to let council know that at some point in time, I think I gave you all a copy of a resolution that I'd like to present at some point in support of the ICANN city's appeal for the UN Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. So I think I provided a copy for you all. We are waiting for the final version, and we'll be bringing that forward at some point in time, hoping for your support. Also, sometimes this job, you can kind of find yourself, even going along with precedent, kind of stepping into situations that you really don't fully understand, but you must take responsibility for what goes out under your name. And so I want to talk about, I got I think a couple of emails saying, offering thank you for my support of a Victory Day proclamation that was issued by my office and myself on November 8th, 2022. And it was regarding a conflict between the countries of Azerbaijan and Armenia. Normally what happens in our office, in the mayor's office, we receive requests for proclamations almost daily. And sometimes when they come, there's a little information given that says this proclamation was issued last year. It was issued by from the same organization, but signed by the mayor last year. And so the same organization is requesting that you issue it again. And so since I have done that in the past without any problems, I issued a proclamation. Lo and behold, in the next couple of days, I found myself, like right now, in the center of a situation that I kind of walked into. So I ended up being headlines, along with other mayors, about the proclamation. As a result of that, I have now modified under my administration guidelines to request a proclamation. This proclamation was not read as a part of a ceremonial item for Durham City, and that's not unusual either. We get requests for people who would like proclamations for different things, and they are not read at City Council. So that was not an abnormality either for it not to have been read. It's one of the things that happens, but as a result of that, I did ask for our guidelines to be changed so that we, under my administration as mayor, will not be issuing proclamations that will reference any territorial or wartime conflicts, celebrations, or victories in foreign countries or commonwealths. Mainly, the formal statement that I will read now for the official record, along with my deepest apologies, I just pray for peace in the world, all over. And so with all of the business that we have in Durham regarding peace in Durham, I have no desire to get into anybody else's conflicts and take a position. So with my sincerest apologies to all who have been touched or affected by my ignorance in going along with precedent, I am rescinding the City of Durham's proclamation issued on November 8th, 2022 regarding the conflict between the countries of, say it again for me, Kim, Azerbaijan and Armenia. We relied on historical information from a proclamation issued in 2021 at the request of the same organization. The proclamation was not read at a City Council meeting, but was issued electronically to the requesting organization. Going forward, the City of Durham will make no comment and will no longer issue ceremonial items referencing any territorial or wartime conflicts, celebrations, or victories in foreign countries or commonwealths. Educational purpose for Durham residents, and that will only last so long as I am mayor. But again, I apologize for that, and I'm really sorry. It won't happen again. The next thing that I also like to note is tonight you'll see us, because I am one that's always trying to innovate and not follow precedent in a lot of ways. Knock on my head for being dumb in that instance. But you'll see a little bit of difference tonight where we will handle our City Council business a little bit differently. You will see me reading, going through some items and reading our consent agenda, and then you will see the council pretty much go from person to person in handling the rest of our business. The reason that I like to try to do different things is just because you've done it the same way all the time doesn't mean that you should always continue to do that and not try and innovate. But before we do that, we all must be comfortable in handling all parts of it, all parts of our agenda. So that's why you've kind of seen the bouncing around a little bit so that everybody can become familiar with what it is normally reserved for the mayor to do. But the mayor is a collaborative leader, and I want to share all of the fun that I have in leading the meetings with my colleagues, and they have so graciously accepted. And as they now see, in about 2 weeks, they're going to be stepping up to the plate to handle things. I also want to note that Wanda Page is not sitting next to me tonight. We have one of our deputy city attorneys, deputy city managers, and I'm going to let him introduce himself because he has a new look tonight, so y'all can get a really good look at his new look tonight. And that will conclude our announcements, but we want them to put the camera on you so they can see you both really good with your new look.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Are you ready for priority items?
Yes, okay. We can. Thank you. Thank you. I will now recognize our city manager for any priority items.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Honorable Mayor Pro Tem, members of council, the city manager's office does have a number of priority items for your consideration this evening. First, agenda item number 15, the service contract with ArborMax Tree Service LLC for right-of-way tree and stump removal services. Pursuant to council's request, additional information has been provided. Agenda item number 23, award of a service contract to NGE Services, Inc. for the tree removal and mowing in utility easements project. Pursuant to City Council's request, additional information has been provided for this item as well. The following items were either fully or partially disposed of during the November 10, 2022 City Council work session. Agenda item number 8, ward redistricting. This item had a presentation. That presentation was disposed of at the November 10th meeting. The discussion of this item remains on GBA for this evening. Agenda item number 13, approval of U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Choice Neighborhoods Implementation Grant Agreement. This item was approved at the November 10, 2022 City Council work session with a vote of 7-0 from the council. Agenda item number 16, update to inform disposition and redevelopment of the property located at 505 West Chapel Hill Street. A presentation was made at the November 10, 2022 City Council work session. And for agenda item number 31, affordable housing deep dive presentation on affordable housing and the law. A presentation was also received by the council at the November 2022 City Council work session. That concludes our items, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much for that. I now will recognize our city attorney for any priority items you may have.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem Middleton, members of the City Council. It's good to see you all. The City Attorney's Office does not have any priority items this evening.
Thank you, Attorney Rayburn. I now turn to our city clerk for any priority items she may have.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, and City Council members. It's nice to see everyone this evening, and the City Clerk's Office has no priority items tonight.
Thank you. Our next order of business is the consent agenda. The consent agenda consists of items that the council has previously considered in a work session. All items on the consent agenda may be approved by a single vote of the council. Items may be removed from the consent agenda by a council member or a member of the public, and those items will be considered separately at the end of the meeting tonight. I am going to read through the entire agenda, beginning with the consent agenda. Item number 1 under the consent agenda is the Durham City County Appearance Commission appointments. Item 2 is the appointment for the Safety and Wellness Task Force. Item 3, the Recreation Advisory Commission appointment. Item 5, Durham Affordable Housing Implementation Committee appointment. Item 6, the Durham Board of Adjustment mayoral appointment. Item 7, approval of City Council minutes. Item 9, the American Rescue Plan Act ARPA project, the Pearson Project kitchen renovation. Item 10, American Rescue Plan Act ARPA project, Black Wall Street Hub for amplifying Durham's entrepreneurial community. I can never pronounce that word. One day, Lord. Item 11, revised rules and procedures for the affordable housing bonus described in section 6.6 of the Unified Development Ordinance. Item 12, contract with Open Table Ministry, Inc. for White Flag Non-Congregate Emergency Shelter and Supportive Services. Item 14, cooperative group purchase contract, 2 rear load refuse trucks. Item 15, service contract with Arbamax Tree Service LLC for right-of-way tree and stump removal services. Item 16, the update to inform disposition and redevelopment of the property located at 505 West Chapel Hill Street. That presentation was made at our November 10th City Council work session. Item 17 is the second amendment to license agreement with American Towers LLC for the Emergency Communications Department at Parkwood Tower. Item 18, design build services with Monteith Construction Corporation for Fire and EMS Station 19. Item 19, 5-year contract for license support renewal between the City of Durham and Infrastructure Technologies LLC, doing business as IT Pipes LLC, or IT Pipes LLC. Item 20, municipal separate storm sewer system, MS4 inspections, SD-2021-06 amendment number 1. 21, the contract with Avenue Government Services LLC for Novalis, NOVALIS Land Development Office and Novalis Gate Software. Number 22, award of a construction contract to RES Environmental Operating Company, LLC for the Homeland and Aiken Street Stream Stabilization Project. Item 23, award of a service contract to NGE Services, Inc. for the tree removal and mowing and utility easements project. Item 24, professional services contract with Kimberly Horn and Associates, Inc. for the West End Water and Sewer Rehabilitation Project, Phase 1. Item 25, the award of a bid term contract for bulk water treatment plant chemicals to Pinco, Inc. Item 26, the award of a bid term contract for bulk water treatment plant chemicals to Univar Solutions USA, Inc. Number 27, amendment number 3 to engineering services contract with Hazen and Sawyer for the Lake Mickey and Little River Raw Water Pump Station improvements. Number 28, the award of construction contract to Crowder Industrial Construction, LLC, for the Lake Mickey and Little River Raw Water Pump Station improvements. Number 29, the award of a bid term contract for bulk water treatment plant chemicals to Caris, LLC. Item 30, professional services contract award to CDM Smith, Inc. for the FY23 miscellaneous water line replacement project phase 1. Turning now to our general business agenda. Item 8, ward redistricting. That presentation was made at our November 10th City Council work session. We now turn to our general business agenda for public hearings. Item 32, the Consolidated Annexation, Guest Road and St. Albans Court. Item 33, the zoning map change, Durham Elementary School F. Item 34 is a zoning map change, 1402 Holloway Street. Item 35, Consolidated Annexation, Rhododendron Sewer and Lots. Item 36 is zoning map change, NCCU, 24-7 Collaborative Learning and Resource Center. And that concludes our entire agenda. We now turn to, and we'll entertain a motion to approve our consent agenda. And I don't think we had one item pulled.
Moved. Second.
Okay, it was moved by Councilman Hyman and Councilwoman Hyman, and seconded by Councilman Williams. And we are now ready, Madam Clerk, if you will open the vote. And if you would please close the vote.
And the motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. I did ask. I'm gonna have to vote to watch next time again. All right. Now here's where we change it up a little bit. I'm gonna turn it over to Mayor Pro Tem, and he will take it from there, and then we'll move along.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good evening to you again and to our my honorable colleagues. We'll turn our attention now to item number 8, which is appearing on our general business agenda, ward redistricting. This is a carryover conversation from our last work session. The matter or the issue before us now is to make a selection between option 1 or option 2 as the new city ward reapportionment plan. Madam Mayor, did we have a speaker? Believe you said we do? Online or? Okay. All right, okay, I see it. We're going to, we have one speaker on this matter, former council member Jacqueline Wagstaff. I'm going to ask Madam Clerk if she is in queue, that you would please make her hearable. And we say good evening to our former colleague, and you have 3 minutes.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. We can.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. Jackie, Durham. Keep my temperature at 68 degrees. Drive a economical car.
Ms. Wagstaff, I'm sorry. I could hear you at first. You're a little low. I don't know if you can maybe do something with the volume. We want to make sure we hear everything you have to say.
Can you hear me now?
About the same.
Okay. Well, it's not. I'm unmuted. I think you should be. Can you hear me now?
That's a little better, right? That's a little better right there.
Okay. Well, I wanted to speak on this item because the ward system is, for Durham, is a complicated system. It's truly not a ward system. And my understanding, I think y'all are voting on changing the boundaries, expanding the boundaries of the ward system that we currently have. The ward system we have is a modified ward system, which really truly is not a true ward system, only to the person that's running. You have to live in a designated boundary in order to run for a ward seat. But everybody in Durham gets to vote for or against that person. So that does not give to true representation for the ward areas. If, say, Ward 1 had someone that they wanted to support, the members of the community wanted to support, and say people that lived in Ward 2 did not like that person of the choice, they could just outvote the people in Ward 1, which happens all the time. And I think that this conversation need to be a broader conversation about expanding the council to a 9-member council. If you're going to span areas, since we've got all this development that's going on, that's bringing county areas back into the city, and we now looking at expanding the areas of ward system, we need to be talking about expanding the council itself to at least a 9-member council, so that people in Durham can actually have a true representation of who it is they would like to represent them, and changing the ward system back to a true ward system, meaning going over to Raleigh, advocating to change it back from the modified version. And the modified version that we use now can be subjective and disallowing people of low means the ability to be able to be in the game properly if they don't have the funding to actually be able to run. So I think this conversation y'all having tonight need to be a broader conversation, and hopefully that, I know you're going to take this vote tonight, but I hope this conversation comes up again in some other venue or some other agenda item for this council. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Wagstaff, for your time tonight. That's the only speaker I had indicated to me that wanted to speak on this item. This matter is now fully before the council. I'll yield to any colleagues that may have any comments about this. Before I do that, was there any additional information from staff or anything staff needs to add, Madam Attorney, or on this matter?
So I provided a very brief memo, Mayor Pro Tem, on Thursday or Friday, just responding to the questions that the council asked during the presentation, one of which was, what was the date that GIS had used in kind of capturing these maps in terms of determining future growth, like, and what was the data pulled? So that was provided in the first paragraph of the memo. And that response again came from GIS analyst Kelly Doss. And the second inquiry was about demographic data for the wards and the precincts. We were able to upload a PDF of the ward data into iLegislate. I sent an email with a much broader precinct level deep dive on Excel with demographic data as well, just for the council's information.
Thank you so much, Madam Attorney. Colleagues?
I'm trying to find the options.
Councilmember Hyman.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to find the description of the options again.
If you look on the agenda item, hit the little paper clip next to item number 8, and then scroll down.
Okay, it's there again. Thank you.
Well, colleagues, if no one, I'll just briefly say, whatever the questions may be or issues may be about our ward system, issues of representation, former Councilmember Wagstaff made an excellent point. We do not have a true ward system. We're all voted on at large, which really renders this particular item, this is not the platform where we're going to fix those issues that have been raised, and I think they're important issues to talk about. This is an exercise that we are legally compelled to do and be disposed of it. Whatever issues you may have or questions or concerns about representation, this isn't the instrument to fix it. We just need to do this. I stood by option 1 before. I still stand by option 1 tonight because from a mathematical point of view, it brings us closer to parity. And by parity, I mean population-wise in each ward than any plan that's put before us. I'm the Ward 2 council member. Right now, Ward 2, under our current drawings, has the largest population. It wasn't like that the last time we did it, but because of growth in the southeast, the numbers have been inflated because of growth in the southeastern part of our city. However, if it seems to me that if you look at that number and just instinctively say that's not fair or that seems unbalanced, then it would seem counterintuitive to me to just switch that to another ward. I mean, if it's a bad idea, it's a bad idea, wherever it is. I think the most straightforward, simple solution before us is to make them as equal as possible. We don't have any weighted votes. We don't get a vote and a half because of the ward. We don't get any because we don't have a true ward system. So I would just recommend us trying to make it as balanced as possible. None of us, our addresses would be affected. We all will still live in the wards that we represent, who hold these ward seats. One of the standards is not to have the map radically altered. I think option 1 satisfies that, and I think it also brings us as close to parity as the options we have. So I'm recommending that we move forward with option 1. Thank you. Colleagues? Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Mayor Pro Tem. I too will be supporting option 1. The mathematical, the math background never goes far, so I like equal parts as much as we can. And I think that aligns more with equality or equity in my mind. So I too will be supporting option 1. I'd like to thank our city attorney and her staff for carrying us through this process. I do think that there are further conversations that need to be had. I don't know whether that is a decision that the 7 of us make about what our ward system is, or whether that is something that we need to look further into the public to see what the wishes of our citizens of Durham would like to have happen in that arena. But I'm certainly open to that conversation. And again, I thank you for helping us through this process.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Colleagues, anyone else? Councilmember Freeman.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I mentioned at the previous discussion, the conversation around checking the ward sizes and acknowledging that the ward in Ward 1, which I represent, is not growing as fast, and I don't think will grow as fast. And so I do appreciate my colleagues' comments, and it's not really that big of a difference for me. I do want to just note that the equitable thing to do would be to try to figure out a little bit more detailed way to nail down what the growth patterns are as we go forward, because I do believe this is like a 10-year process. So in the next 10 years, if we could have a little bit more detail, that would be helpful. That's probably my best suggestion, but I'm fine with option 1 or 2.
Thank you, Councilmember. Colleagues, anyone else? With that, I think we'll proceed this way. I'll entertain a motion to adopt option 1. If that crosses the threshold, then it'll be adopted. If it doesn't, then we'll hold a vote on option 2.
Move to adopt option 1.
I hear a motion from Councilmember Caballero and a second from Councilmember Hyman. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote? Please close the vote and report out.
The motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Option 1 is adopted, and I know we all want to associate ourselves with the mayor's thanks to City Attorney for yeoman's job, person's job on this work. Thank you. Madam Councilmember Freeman? Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Incorporating option 1.
Got you.
Yeah.
What is the, I'm sorry.
An ordinance officially designating the new ward boundaries
it.
illustrated on option 1 map.
All right.
It's fine.
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Attorney. Colleagues, I'll ask for a motion to adopt an ordinance officially designating the new ward boundaries illustrated on the map selected to be the city ward reapportionment plan, that being option 1.
So moved.
I hear a motion from everyone. Councilmember Williams, and the second is from Her Honor the Mayor. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote? Madam Clerk, please close the vote and report out.
The motion again passes 7-0.
Thank you very much. Option 1 is adopted. Madam Mayor, with your permission now, we'll turn to our public hearings. And I'm sorry, Freeman, forgive me.
I apologize. I just had a question for the city attorney, just in recognizing, I do believe that this process is limited to just the reapportionment. But if there were a need to, or a way to have the conversation, I guess, with our residents in the community, how would that happen?
Councilmember Freeman, I think the council could shape that process however you would like. I mean, I know you have a deep dive going on right now around affordable housing. I mean, you could, structure a series of presentations about city charter change, on that basis. You could have town halls, open forums to gather that data, and ultimately the council itself could suggest putting a referendum to the voters. So there are a number of different ways that we can tackle that.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, council member, and thank you, Madam Attorney. Colleagues, actually, before we go to general business, to public hearing, with the mayor's permission, I'm going to ask for a motion a very self-serving motion to approve my excused absences for the regular city council meeting on December 5th and the work session on December 8th.
So moved.
Second.
I hear a motion from Councilmember Caballero and a second from Councilmember Freeman. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote? Madam Clerk, please close the vote and report out. My thanks to my colleagues for the excused absences. Madam Mayor, yours was taken care of, right?
The motion passes 7-0.
Thank you so much. Madam Clerk, did we take care of the mayor's request for an excused absence? Do you want us to do it? Colleagues, I'm going to ask for a motion to grant the mayor an excused absence for the regular city council meeting on Monday, December 5th.
So moved.
Second.
I heard a motion from Councilmember Freeman and a second from Councilmember Williams. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote? Madam Clerk, please close the vote and report.
The motion passes 7-0.
All right. Thank you so much, Madam Clerk. All right, colleagues, we turn our attention now to our general business agenda public hearings. I'll be holding the gavel for item number 32, Consolidated Annexation, Guest Road, and St. Albans Court. And at this time, we'll receive our report from staff. Good evening.
Thank you. Mayor Neal, Mayor Pro Tem Middleton, and honorable council members. Good evening. I'm Andy Lester with the Planning Department, and I'm happy to be here with you tonight. Before I begin, staff would like to state for the record that all planning document hearing items have been advertised and noticed in accordance with state and local law, and affidavits of all notices are on file within the Planning Department. A request for utility extension agreement, voluntary annexation, initial zoning has been received from Jared Edens of Edens Land for 3 parcels of land totaling 26.312 acres and located at 6 St. Albans Court and 5715 and 5720 Guest Road. This annexation petition is for a contiguous expansion of the primary corporate limits. The applicant intends to annex the property in order to construct 43 single-family dwellings. The properties are currently designated low-density residential in the future land use map. The proposed planned development residential 2.090 zoning is consistent with the designated use on the flume. This annexation petition does not have a concurrent zoning map change application, which is known as a direct translational zoning. A direct translational zoning is the one in which the existing county zoning is translated to the identical city zoning district upon annexation of the property to the city. Any future development may proceed according to what the development standards of the existing development plan P04-44 allow, which would be a maximum number of 51 single-family dwellings. As a reminder, 2 motions are required for this application. The first is to adopt an ordinance annexing the property and entering an inter-utility extension agreement, and the second is to approve the zoning ordinance. Thank you. Staff and the applicant are available for any questions.
Thank you very much, Andy. Colleagues, are there any questions for staff before we open the public hearing? All right, with that, I'm going to declare this public hearing on this matter open. Item number 32, Consolidated Annexation, Guest Road and St. Albans Court. I have listed as the presenter, Mr. Jared Edens. Let's see, Jared, is he online? Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Mr. Edens. How much time do you anticipate needing for your presentation?
Very brief. I'm actually asking for a deferral if that's possible. I'm not going to explain why.
Okay. Did you say a referral?
Yeah, if it's possible, I'd like to request a deferral. I'm still working on a couple issues with the property owner, and the last thing I want to do is annex the owner's property without having those things worked out. So I think if I could get a deferral for 30 to 60 days, that'll give me time to move forward a little bit more confidently. I just don't want to do anything that he does not want this evening. So extra time would be appreciated.
All right. Mr. Edens, if I might, this is a direct translation. Could you give us a little more insight as to what the reason for us to amend alter our work flow is?
Yeah, and I apologize for that. It's really a contractual issue with the owner that I've got to work through. I was trying to work it out over the weekend, and it just didn't come to fruition. But I mean, we want to annex per the existing zoning and not asking for anything special or anything like that. But like I said, I just don't want to annex the owner's property if we don't have our things worked out and add the taxes and whatnot to his parcel. So I realize it's a somewhat of a waste of your time, and I apologize. But where I sit this evening, it's sort of my only option is to ask for a deferral.
All right, thank you. I do have, and I'll take up that matter with the council in a moment. I did, however, have also a speaker, and I don't know if her desire to speak is going to be in any way colored or contoured by your comments, but I do want to check with Cassandra Lee. Madam Clerk, if you'll make Cassandra Lee hearable. Looks like she's left. Cassandra Lee, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
I think I heard you respond, but you're barely audible. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you fine. Can you hear me at all?
I can. There you are. Are you a proponent or opponent for this matter?
Well, I basically I had some questions regarding because my property is
Hold on,
directly.
before I want to start the clock. So you're not a proponent or an opponent. You just.
I'm undecided at the moment. I was waiting to hear Mr. Eden's declaration as for what he was proposing to do with the property.
Got you. So Mr. Edens has asked us for the matter to be referred back to us. However, it is your right as a member of the public if you still want to speak, or if since Mr. Edens is not, has asked not to make a presentation tonight, if you still want to speak, you can, and if not, that's okay too. You can come back when we take up this matter.
Okay, I'll come back when we take up the matter because it sounds like this still might be in limbo, in which, at that time I'd like to speak when we all have all of the details and facts established.
Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us tonight.
Thank you.
Hey, colleagues, you've heard a request from the petitioner. Before we get into that, Madam Attorney, there's an option to either keep the public hearing open or refer it fully back, and I see our planning director coming up. So, Sarah, if you want to give us some wisdom, I'll yield. Sorry, Madam Attorney. Sarah.
Sure, sorry about that. Good evening, everyone. Sarah Young with the Planning Department. A continuance, the benefit of a continuance is there's no need to re-advertise. You're saying in this meeting, we will hold it open until such a date certain. We just need a date certain. I've looked at our calendar of cases that we have coming forward to you to try and program and see when it might work well. And we could actually accommodate it on January 3rd if you wanted to continue it to that date.
Mr. Edens, would January 3rd work for you? Again, I have not gotten permission from my colleagues yet, just getting information. Is he still? Madam Clerk, if you would make Mr. Edens hearable.
Yeah, so any day in the future would be appreciated. Obviously, January 3rd is pretty quick, and that would be great for us. So if you guys can do that, I'd definitely appreciate it.
All right. So to be clear, close the hearing and kick it back to you for continuance. Would that be the appropriate, or leave the hearing open?
Mayor Pro Tem, if you're going to continue the matter, you want to hold the hearing open and just continue to that date
Got you.
the planning director has specified.
Colleagues, are there any objections to that? Anyone have any questions or comments from my colleagues? All right, seeing, I think I have unanimous consent on that. I'm going to declare this public hearing remain open, and we will continue until January 3rd. Let the record reflect that as disposition of this matter, item number 32. All right, thank you. Madam Mayor, I yield back.
All right, we will turn it on over to Councilwoman Freeman.
Thank you. The next item we have on the agenda tonight is zoning map change, Durham Elementary School F. Item number 33, to conduct a public hearing and receive comments and consideration. And I'm going to receive our staff report.
Mayor Neal, Mayor Pro Tem Middleton, and honorable council members. I'm Andy Lester with the Planning Department. A request for a zoning map change has been received from Julius Monk of Durham Public Schools for 2 parcels of land totaling 39.691 acres and located at 3901 South Roxborough Street and 1300 Cook Road. The current zoning is Plan Development Residential 3.440 and Plan Development Residential 6.800. The applicant proposes to change this designation to office and institutional with a development plan. The applicant is proposing to rezone the properties to limit uses to educational and/or government uses only for proposed new elementary school. The properties are currently designated commercial, medium-density residential on the future land use map. The proposed office and institutional with a development plan. Zoning is inconsistent with the designated future land use. If the proposed zoning is approved, staff recommends a change to the flume to designate the property as institutional. As a reminder, 2 motions are required for this application. The first is to approve the zoning ordinance. The second motion is to approve the consistency statement. Thank you. Staff and the applicant are available for any questions.
Thank you. You've heard the staff report, and I'm now going to declare this public hearing open. And first, are there any questions for staff from my colleagues, members of council? Thank you. And just checking with the mayor and the clerk to see if there are any public comments. Anyone signed up? If there's not, there's no one here to speak on this matter, then I'll bring it back to the council. There appears that there's zero people signed up to speak on this issue. So I will ask that we declare this public hearing closed, and the matter is now back before council. Any questions? It will just take 2, I'll take accepting motions.
So moved.
Sorry to read the motion.
We read it.
A motion to adopt the ordinance amending the United Development Ordinance by taking property out of the Planned Development Residential 3.440, PDR 3.44, and Planned Development Residential 6.800, and PDR 6.800, and establishing the same as office and institutional with the text-only development plan, OID.
So moved.
Second.
I hear the motion from Councilmember Williams and Mayor O'Neill. Clerk, would you open the vote? Close the vote.
The motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. And I'll take a motion to adopt the consistency statement as required by NCGS 160D-605.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Williams, seconded by Mayor O'Neill. Clerk, if you would open the vote. Please close the vote.
And again, the motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The ayes have it. And the consent agenda is moved, I'm sorry, the item is moved forward.
Good evening, everyone. The next item is item number 34, zoning map change 1402 Holloway Street. And we'll be hearing a report from staff.
Mayor Neal, Mayor Pro Tem Middleton, and honorable council members, Andy Lester with the Planning Department. A request for a zoning map change has been received from Dana LeBerg of 1402 Holloway LLC for one parcel of land totaling 0.818 acres and located at 1402 Holloway Street. The current zoning is residential urban multifamily with a development plan. The applicant proposes to change this designation to residential urban multifamily with a development plan. The applicant is proposing to rezone the property to facilitate the construction of up to 28 apartment units, with 14 units being designated as affordable housing units. The properties are currently designated medium-high density residential in the future land use map, which accommodates densities between 8 to 20 dwelling units per acre. The proposed RUMD zoning is inconsistent with the designated future land use. If the proposed zoning is approved, staff recommends a change to the flume to designate the property as high-density residential, which accommodates densities at 12 to 60 dwelling units per acre. As a reminder, 2 motions are required for this application. The first motion is to approve the zoning ordinance. The second motion is to approve the consistency statement. Thank you. Staff and the applicant are available for any questions.
Thank you. You've now heard the report from staff. I'm going to declare this public hearing open. And first, are there any questions for our staff from the council? Okay. Moving on, are there any public speakers on the item? No? Okay. Oh, there are. Okay. Let me see. Oh, sorry, I was looking at Zoom. I apologize. Good evening, sir.
Thank you.
Are you the applicant? Are you the applicant or are you a proponent of the project? Okay, and how many minutes do you think you're going to need?
Probably 3.
3. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you.
I just wanted to explain a little bit about this project. I have 2 other partners on this. We all live in the Triangle area. We lived here for decades, been involved in real estate, and we've seen how many people have been moved out of their neighborhoods, moved out of affordable housing with a lot of the changes that have happened. We've also seen a lot of residents, not only in Durham, but in the Triangle, seem to stay stuck in their situations and not have paths to move forward. So we've made a commitment as a group to try and help, and it's an ambitious commitment, to try and help 2,000 families break the cycle of generational poverty. We've started by just having single-family houses and duplexes, and we have houses that we use for transitional prison ministry, guys coming out of prison, ladies coming out of prison, give them a sense of stable housing, working with Step Up Durham, working with Housing for New Hope, different organizations in the community to try and provide quality, safe, secure, consistent housing, which over and over again seems to be one of the first things that people need to be able to truly move forward. This project came to us from a nonprofit that owned the lot. They had had a previous development plan on it. It was zoned multifamily already. They had a previous development plan for a boarding house. They decided, and that was back in the 80s, I believe, late 80s. They decided not to do that, and they actually tore the house down that was there. So they approached us because they heard of what we had been doing and asked if we would be interested in buying the land. We said we would, and then they came back and said, hey, we've got a couple other offers on this land from people who want to develop it out into kind of the higher income housing. We basically said we can't compete with them. but we can tell you that if you sell the land to us, that we will commit to use it for low-income housing and to be a benefit to the community. And they chose to sell it to us at a considerably less than what they could have gotten for the land. So this apartment building, it's a 28-unit building, is our first attempt at something this size to be able to help meet that need. And we believe it'll be a benefit to the community, and our commitment is to make the units as affordable as we can and allow this building to stay sustainable as a business as well. That's all I have.
Thank you so much. Are there any other proponents for this project? Are there any opponents for this project? Thank you. Seeing none, seeing no other folks here, it looks like this matter is back before the council and the public hearing is closed. I will now be taking any questions from my colleagues, Councilmember Hulsey-Hyman and Councilmember Williams.
So I don't have a question, but I just wanted to say thank you to you and your partners. Taking on a project of affordable housing is not easy. And so I just appreciate you having 50% of the apartments that you're going to be using as affordable housing. So I just wanted to say thank you, because again, it's not an easy thing to do, and I appreciate you taking on this Herculean just challenge to do it. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Williams.
Thank you, colleagues. Thank you also. I know how difficult this may be, but I'm glad that you know how necessary that it is. And I hope that we as a city can be a really good partner in this type of work. I had a question for the attorney, Madam Attorney. What was the process to create a program, a grant program for assisting well, not really assisting, but creating a pathway for applicants that are building more affordable housing? Was that like an ordinance or something we had to create, and did we have to go back and do something in the very beginning? Or something? I remember mentioning it.
Councilmember, are you referring to Senior Deputy City Attorney O'Toole's presentation from the 10th?
Yes, that is right. Now,
I mean, there are a number, you may recall that he talked about some of the tools you all have available to you, and some of them can be incentives. We could have a grant program, but to my knowledge, we do not yet. I would have to defer to the city manager's office on what currently exists through community development or other departments. But there are tools that we can use for developers who choose to be in the space, for sure.
Thank you. I asked that question for two reasons. One, to refresh my memory. I remember it being mentioned, and the other is once we do have that deliberation, if we do fall in favor of that, I hope that you'll come back. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Williams. Councilmember Freeman.
Thank you. If I could ask the applicant to come back up to the mic. I just wanted to ask specifically, the 1408 Holloway, is that exactly where Agape House Boarding School used to sit?
Yes, ma'am.
That was the nonprofit that was there?
Yes, ma'am.
I want to appreciate the outreach that you've done. I don't know if it's the same team or not, but I know in the beginning, it's probably like 2 years ago, there was outreach that was being done to make sure that you talk to the people in the community about what would be beneficial to that neighborhood. And I want to thank you for doing that on behalf of council and on behalf of Old East Durham. And I want to say that this is monumental. I did want to ask, are you for-profit or nonprofit?
We are for-profit.
And you're managing to build an apartment complex with 28 units and hold 50% at affordable rates.
That's our plan.
And I'd offer...
We'll have the 50%. Our goal is hopefully to do more, but we're trying to keep things as just streamlined as we can to make that happen.
And I'd like to offer support as well, as Councilmember Williams mentioned. If there's any way that I can be supportive in helping you move that process along, please let me know. I want to make sure that you
I appreciate
have full support here. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else, any other colleagues? Madam Mayor.
I just wanted to offer my thanks to you, and if you would state your name for me, just.
It's Dana LaBerge.
Thank you so much, and please tell thanks to your partners as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you. I'll just quickly join the chorus of yays. Nothing not to like about this project. Appreciate you bringing it to us and being part of the solution for housing in our community.
Very welcome.
Any other colleagues? Okay, let me pull up the motions. We have two motions in front of us. Motion 1 to adopt, to adopt an ordinance amending the Unified Development Ordinance by taking property out of residential urban multifamily with a development plan, RU-MD, and establishing the same as residential urban multifamily with a development plan, RU-MD.
So moved.
Which is red.
Second. Okay, thank you. I heard Councilmember Williams first and then seconded by Mayor Pro Tem. Madam Clerk, could you please open the vote? Could you please close the vote?
The motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Motion number 2 is to adopt a consistency statement as required by NCGS 160D-605.
So moved.
Second. Heard the motion from Councilmember Williams and seconded by Councilmember Freeman. Madam Clerk, could you please open the vote? Could you please close the vote?
Again, the motion passes 7-0.
Thank you so much. I'll be passing it on to Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Caballero. And I will be presiding over the last two public hearing items. Our next item is agenda number 35, Consolidated Annexation, Rhododendron Sewer and Lots. And we are ready for Mr. Lester with the staff report.
Thank you. Mayor Neal, Mayor Pro Tem Middleton, and honorable council members, Andy Lester of the Planning Department. A request for a utility extension agreement, voluntary annexation, and initial zoning map change has been received from Kevin Punt and Brandy Punt for one parcel of land totaling 9.772 acres and located at 159 Rhododendron Drive. The annexation petition is not contiguous to the primary corporate limits, but is an expansion of the existing Trayburn satellite area. The applicant seeks to construct 3 single-family homes on the current vacant lot. The properties are currently designated low-density residential on the future land use map. The proposed residential suburban 20, RS20 zoning is consistent with the designated use in the flume. The annexation petition does not have a concurrent zoning application, which is known as a direct translational zoning. A direct translational zoning is one in which the existing county zoning is translated to the identical city zoning district upon the annexation of the property into the city. Any future development may proceed according to what the zoning district would allow. While the current property is vacant, future development under the existing zoning of RS20 allows for agricultural activity, single-family residential development on lots of 1/2 acre or greater, and conservation subdivisions. Commercial and industrial development is prohibited in the RS20 zoning district. As a reminder, 2 motions are required for this application. The first is to adopt an ordinance annexing the property and entering into a utility extension agreement. And the second is to approve the zoning ordinance. Thank you. Staff and the applicant are here to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Lester. We have heard the staff report, and I'm now going to declare this public hearing open. Are there any questions for staff from members of the council? Seeing no questions from members of the council, we will move to comments from the public. There is one person who has signed up to speak on this item, Brittany Eaker, as a proponent. Is there anyone else present who would like to be heard on this item? In that case, we can hear from Ms. Eaker if she would like to speak. I believe she's available online.
Councilmember Johnson, Ms. Eaker's here for item 36.
Oh, okay, thank you. So there's no one to speak on this item.
Councilmember Johnson, Mr. Abbott has raised his hand.
Okay. Mr. Abbott, would you identify if you are a proponent or an opponent?
Proponent.
A proponent. Mr. Abbott, you are welcome to speak. You can have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sorry, I signed up online, but maybe it was too late. But I would like to introduce myself. I'm Chad Abbott of 2537 East Line Station Road in Creekmore, North Carolina.
sorry, Mr. Abbott, it's a little bit hard to hear you. Could you speak a little bit louder or move your microphone a little bit closer?
Yes, ma'am. Is that better?
That's better. Thank you.
Okay, yes, I'm sorry. My name is Chad Abbott. I am at address 2537 East Lyon Station Road, Creedmoor, North Carolina. I am principal engineer at C3 Design and Engineering. I represent the applicant and property owner, Mr. Kevin Punt, and we've been working on this application and just would like to thank staff for quite a long journey here. What we thought might be a seemingly insignificant annexation has taken about a year, but we understand it's the process, and we definitely appreciate all their work in helping us get on the right track, and we just appreciate your passing this annexation tonight so he may have water and sewer at his property. We are completely surrounded by existing city property that is in that Traburn satellite area. And he owns a piece of property there and just would like to develop his forever home as well as 2 other lots, all about 1 acre or so. So they are very in much compliance and conformance with the surrounding properties. We had neighborhood meetings and had no opposition to our proposal. So we just would welcome a positive vote tonight, if you may. Thank you very much. And I'm open for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Abbott. Is there anyone else who would like to be heard on this item, either in the chambers or online, before we close this public hearing? No hands, Madam Clerk? Alrighty, so I will declare the public hearing closed, and the matter is now before the council. Any comments from my colleagues? Wow, we're just running through these guys today. Great. So we will then move forward with our motions. I will accept a motion to adopt an ordinance annexing Rhododendron Sewer and Lots into the city of Durham effective December 31st, 2022, and to authorize the city manager to enter into a utility extension agreement with Kevin Punt and Brandy Punt.
So move.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Williams, seconded by Councilmember Hyman. Madam Clerk, will you please open the vote? Please close the vote.
And the motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there a motion to adopt an ordinance amending the Unified Development Ordinance by taking property out of Residential Suburban 20, RS20, Falls Jordan District B, FJB, county jurisdiction, and establishing the same as Residential Suburban 20, RS20, Falls Jordan District B, FJB, city jurisdiction?
So move.
Motion by Councilmember Hyman, second by Councilmember Williams. Madam Clerk, will you please open the vote? Please close the vote.
And again, the motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We will move on to item 36. Agenda item 36 is zoning map change, NCCU 24/7 Collaborative Learning and Resource Center. This public hearing is a zoning case, and we will now hear from Mr. Lesser once again with another staff report.
Thank you. A request for a zoning map change has been received from Joshua Frey of Surface 678 PA on behalf of their client, North Carolina Central University, for 3 parcels of land totaling 0.590 acres and located at 1712 Fayetteville Street, 1710 Fayetteville Street, and 413 East Lawson Street. The current zoning is Residential Urban 5 and University and College 2. The applicant proposes to change this designation to University and College 2 with a development plan. The applicant is proposing to rezone the properties to facilitate the construction of a minimum 5,000 square foot building, which includes a large multi-purpose study and retail space. The properties are currently designated medium density residential on the future land use map. The proposed University and College 2, the development plan, zoning is inconsistent with this designated future land use for parcels 117397 and 117399, which are designated as medium-density residential. However, the proposed zoning is consistent with the designated future land use for parcel 117398, which is designated as institutional. If the proposed zoning is approved, staff recommends a change to the flume to designate each property as institutional. As a reminder, 2 motions are required for this application. The first motion is to approve the zoning ordinance, and the second is to approve the consistency statement. Thank you, and staff and the applicant are available for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Lester. You've heard the report from staff, and I'm now going to declare this public hearing open. Are there any questions for staff from members of the council? Thank you. No questions for staff. So we will move to members of the public. We have one person who signed up to speak as a resource, Brittany Eaker. Can we confirm if Ms. Eaker would like to be heard on this item, or if she's just there to answer any questions that might come up?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi. Welcome.
Perfect. Thank you for having me. I am here as a resource on behalf of the architecture firm involved, and we also have a couple folks who are there in person to answer questions as well.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any questions from members of the council for the applicant team? Mayor Pro Tem Middleton.
Thank you, council member. I thought there was somebody who was going to make a presentation to kind of give us prompts for questions, or are we just relying on the? I thought there was an applicant here who was going to. You might be the applicant there. Okay. Did you? Only if you want to. Did you not want to? That was on the. Did you? Okay, sure. That's.
And before you go, if you could fill out one of those yellow cards and give it to the clerk, that would be great. You don't have to now, just before you leave. Yeah.
Here's your Zoom, your presentation.
Yeah, I'm going to share the Zoom. Just let me know when you need to go to the next slide. Yeah.
Welcome. Do you have a sense of how much time you'll need for your presentation?
I'm hoping I can stay within 3 minutes, if that's okay, and I'd be glad to answer any questions you may have as well. Eric Davis, Surface 678, landscape architect, representing the project. Thank you, council members. I also want to thank Mr. Lester and his staff for helping us shepherd this project through. It's taken a bit of time, but we've all learned a great deal from this process. We have the other members of our staff, of our team here as well, Evoke Studio, which is Brittany, and we have Edwin Harris in the audience as well. Jahan Waller is our civil engineer. And Joshua Frey is with NC Central University. We can go to the next slide, Mr. Lester, thank you. And he explained a lot of the details to you, and I'll be brief with that, but I think there's some important elements to that to highlight. Materials used in the construction of the building shall include brick with storefront glazing on the prominent public side, which is Lawson and Fayetteville. The architectural features shall include a welcoming porch for gathering, a perforated canopy. We're providing adequate parking spaces that exceed what is approved by the city and is required, as well as accessible parking spaces and bike parking. You can go to the next slide, thank you. Just to give you a little bit of orientation of where this project is located, it is on the northwest corner of Lawson and Fayetteville Streets. And on the second image, you see the vicinity map. If you look at the top, that northwest corner in red dashed lines, if you go clockwise around the site, to the east is Fayetteville Street and Benjamin Ruffin Residence Hall. To the south is located Lawson Street. That's the Ruffin Residence Hall to the south, excuse me, and to the east was the Farrison Newton Communications Building. And then to the west and to the north is the residential community. Next slide, please. What we've done here is provided an overlay of the building with its footprint. You can see access to the public right-of-way to the east and to the south. Next slide, please. And then orient you in terms of the plat itself. What we'd like to do is what Mr. Lester had described. The zoning currently is UC2 on the light green, and then the RU5 is in the peach color. Next slide, please. And again, this is an enlargement highlighting the different zonings and what we'd like to request in terms of change and approve. Next slide, please. And this is the footprint once the property is recombined, allowing for a building located with the front porch to the east side and connections to Lawson Street along the south as well. Highlights in terms of planting plan, you can see that we're adding 16 deciduous trees plus 25 flowering trees, as well as numerous shrubs, connections to the east and connections to the south. And next slide, please. This is Jahan Waller with a civil engineering firm. If you'd like to speak towards this slide, Jahan. If there's any questions regarding the slide, you can see we've added some images that highlight some of the areas and challenges. Oh, looks like my time is up.
You can feel free to continue.
Oh, thank you. If you have questions about the context, what I think is really interesting about this project and what I think is successful is that it actually encouraged a dialogue between the university and the neighborhoods and the communities it serves around it. And that dialogue actually found ways to not only improve what will be a great building for the student body, but also improve the stormwater system in and around the neighborhood and the community. Next slide, please. This is looking at the drainage system, so we can go to the next slide. Thank you. The footprint of the building in terms of what this building layout will be. We have Brittany on. I don't know if you'd like to speak to these next few slides, Brittany, and I'll pause. We can advance the next slide. Thank you. Just providing some context in terms of the location. You can see the building in the background. This is looking north. I'm standing on Lawson Street, Fayetteville Street's to the right. You can see the opening in the porch, opportunities for students to gather in and around the building, inside and outside as well. Next slide, please. This is actually on the porch itself. Now I'm looking south towards Lawson Street, places for students to study, to gather informally, small groups, large groups. Next slide, please. And then inside the building itself. And I'll pause with this slide and if there's any other comments in terms of the building or structure, and open it up for your questions, please.
Thank you for the presentation. I'll now return to my colleagues. Are there any questions for our applicants? Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Council Member. Thank you so much for the presentation. One of Durham's chief calling cards is what's going on at NCCU. The expansion that we're witnessing is remarkable. It's not just one of our nation's leading HBCUs, it's one of our nation's leading learning institutions. So we're really excited to see the expansion there. I did have a question. I didn't get a sense about the building. So it's not going to be it said retail space and multi-purpose. Is there any sense, what else is going to be going on in that building? Is it are any academics? Would you approach please?
Hello, I'm Edwin Harris. I'm a co-founder of Evoke Studio Architecture. I'm the architect. The program for the project is actually, it's called a Student Collaboration and Research Center. And so what it is really is geared towards students who are not living on campus to have a place to come to the campus as a touchdown point to basically study, collaborate with each other. And there are some retail components in terms of if they want to grab food. But primarily, it's really a learning and teaching space. Well, not teaching space, but a student-focused learning space. So that's the idea behind it.
Awesome. And finally, with this amazing explosion at NCCU, one of the things that we hear sometimes from people that live in the neighborhood, there's always that kind of town gown, even with HBCUs, town gown tension, and will there be any accessibility or components that the community, if not, I know overall with the university, but this particular building, any opportunities for community members to interact or perhaps use it?
I can't speak to that because I'm not sure exactly the way they're programming it. I know that what we did in terms of the design, we were, as Eric spoke about, trying to make sure that we were good stewards in terms of the surrounding neighborhood, in terms of even the scale of the building. It's a fairly small building, and we did it intentionally to make sure that we did not dwarf the neighbors, and we didn't, really have an adverse effect on them. So in terms of the program and how that happens in terms of engaging the greater neighborhood, I'm not sure how to, what the future holds for that.
Thank you. It's a beautiful rendering, and in a city as growing as much as ours, there's always the risk of buildings kind of looking cookie cutter.
Yeah.
The same. NCCU has actually been a point of pride of putting up buildings that are distinctive. That new student center is beautiful. They're actually distinctive.
Yes.
Character. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Presentation. I appreciate you. Thank you, Councilmember.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Councilmember Williams.
Yeah, I was just enjoying Mayor Pro Tem's comments. And feel free to keep going. As a graduate of North Carolina A&T, I'm enjoying hearing those words. I wonder where you guys were when I was running on those corners as a student. This is a beautiful facility, and I just appreciate extending the resources for students on and off campus. I think this is a great opportunity for the university to partner with the city, as we have many coffee shops, but this is a collaborative space that I'm really excited to see. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. And Councilmember Hyman.
Hi, I'm excited about this also. With our new lovely student center that we are taking part in using right now at Central, this is really good. But I also want to make sure, because it is a place where you said you're going to be really innovative with students to be able to use the space, that and I know you're doing this, but I just want to put it out there that we're making sure that the facility is user-friendly for students with disabilities, because that is honestly one of the issues, not issues, but well, those are the things that I hear actually being a professor there, making sure that, and I know you have regulations that you have to follow, but sometimes, just certain ways buildings are designed, it does not sometimes take in mind for people who have disabilities. Yeah, good.
I think that's really, really important. We recognize, too, that the wonderful thing about Durham is its topography, and it's hills up and down, but it can provide issues associated or challenges associated with accessibility. So to the north, there's a gently sloped walk that you can come from the sidewalk, the right-of-way, and from the south as well. So we made sure we have multiple access for people with challenges, mobility challenges.
Thank you, because one of the things we're known for is those slopey hills, and as a professor that's getting older, they are really doing the damage on these legs. So I just want to say, thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilmember. Any other questions, Ms. Mayor?
Amplified.
Councilmember Freeman.
And of course, I would like to add my comments in noting that it would have been great to have a location on campus while I was there commuting as well. And so I'd also like to add Eagle Pride. Thank you.
All right, thanks, everyone. Any other comments? Is there anyone else here present, either in the chamber or online, who would like to be heard on this item before we close out our public hearing? All right, seeing none, I will declare this public hearing closed, and the matter is back before the council. If there are no further comments, I could accept a motion to adopt an ordinance amending the Unified Development Ordinance by taking property out of Residential Urban 5, RU5, and University and College 2, UC2, and establishing the same as University and College 2 with a development plan, UC2D.
So moved.
Second.
Everybody likes this one. All right, I'm going to go with moved by Councilmember Hyman, seconded by Councilmember Freeman. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote? Please close the vote.
The motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And our final motion is to adopt a consistency statement as required by NCGS 160D-605.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Williams, seconded by Councilmember Hyman. Madam Clerk has already opened the vote. Please close the vote.
And the motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Our speakers who were here in the chamber, please both fill out a yellow card before you leave, just so we have your information for the record. And I will pass the gavel back to the mayor to adjourn us. Thank you.
We are turning that over to Councilman Williams this evening.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and colleagues. What a swift and efficient meeting. Are there other matters of discussion? No one interested in running the agenda again? All right. Well, I guess at 8:44, we will consider this meeting adjourned. Full City Strong.
That's called being 40.